Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. Blood was still drying on his knuckles when he grabbed my face, forcing me to look at him, to really see the monster I had foolishly invited into my heart. You wanted this, didn't you, Ren? His thumb traced the trembling line of my lower lip, his voice a velvet caress that betrayed the violence shattering the living room around us. You didn't confess because you wanted a boyfriend. You confessed because you wanted to be consumed. The flashing blue lights from the street below cast erratic shadows across his pale, aristocratic features, turning his eyes into abyssal pools. I should have been terrified. My best friend, his brother, was shouting somewhere in the distance, a muffled roar of betrayal that barely penetrated the ringing in my ears. But as Adrian pressed his forehead against mine, trapping me against the cold plaster of the wall, the only thing I could feel was the devastating, sickening realization that he was right. I hadn't just fallen for him. I had thrown myself off the precipice, praying he would catch me before I hit the ground. It started with a lease agreement and a lie. I was 24, a freelance illustrator drowning in student debt and living off instant noodles in a city that chewed up dreamers and spat them out on the pavement. My salvation came in the form of Julian, a senior architect I'd met at a gallery opening. Julian was sturdy, reliable, the kind of man who owned a golden retriever and ironed his socks. When he offered me the spare room in his penthouse for a fraction of the market rent, I thought I'd won the lottery. There's just one catch, Julian had said, swirling his scotch, his expression darkening slightly. My younger brother, Adrian. He's finishing his residency. He'll be staying with us for a few months while his apartment is renovated. He's quiet. You won't even know he's there. You won't even know he's there. The irony of those words would haunt me for months. Adrian was not a ghost. He was a gravitational singularity. The first time I saw him, he was standing in our shared kitchen at 3 a.m. I had stumbled out for water, wearing nothing but oversized boxers and a faded t-shirt. He was dressed in immaculate charcoal slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that looked like they were carved from marble. He was drinking espresso, reading a medical journal on a tablet with an intensity that made the air in the room feel heavy. He looked up, the silence stretched, taut and vibrating. He didn't smile. He didn't offer a polite wave. He just observed. His eyes were a startling, icy gray, framed by lashes so long they cast shadows on his high cheekbones. He was beautiful in the way a storm front is beautiful, a warning of impending devastation. You must be Ron, he said. His voice was deeper than Julian's, lacking the warmth but possessing a musicality that sent a shiver down my spine. Julian said you were an artist. He didn't mention you were so vibrant. And you're Adrian, I stammered, pulling my shirt down self-consciously. The doctor. Surgeon, he corrected softly, taking a sip of his coffee without breaking eye contact. I fix things that are broken. Or I cut them out. That was the beginning. A slow, agonizing burn that consumed my sanity inch by inch. For the first month, I tried to keep my distance. Julian was my friend, my landlord, my benefactor. The bro code was implicit but ironclad. Family is off limits. Especially family that looked like Adrian. But avoiding Adrian was like trying to avoid the tide. He was inevitable. He began to infiltrate my space, not with aggression, but with a terrifying, calculated kindness. I would wake up to find fresh coffee waiting for me, brewed exactly how I liked it, black with a dash of cinnamon, though I had never told him my preference. When I pulled an all-nighter for a deadline, slumped over my drafting table with a migraine pounding behind my eyes, I would find a glass of water and 2 painkillers placed silently beside my hand. He was too kind, too perfect. One rainy Tuesday, I came home soaked to the bone, my portfolio ruined by a passing taxi that had splashed a wave of gutter water onto the sidewalk. I was shivering, on the verge of tears, clutching the soggy cardboard that held weeks of work. Julian was out on a date. The apartment was dark, save for the glow of the fireplace. Adrian was there. He didn't ask what happened. He simply took the ruined portfolio from my numb fingers and set it aside. He stripped my wet jacket off, his fingers brushing against my neck, hot enough to brand. Sit, he commanded, pointing to the plush rug by the fire. I obeyed. I always obeyed him, even then. He returned with a towel and a basin of warm water. He knelt before me. Adrian, the prodigy surgeon, the man who wore suits that cost more than my entire education, and began to dry my hair. It's ruined, I whispered, my voice cracking. The commission. I lost it. Nothing is ever truly lost. Run, he murmured. He moved the towel down to my neck, his touch lingering. It's just repositioned. You don't understand. I needed that money. Julian. Julian helps you because he likes to feel benevolent. Adrian cut in, his tone turning sharp. He likes having a stray to feed. It makes him feel superior. I pulled back, shocked. He's your brother. He loves you. Adrian paused, his hand resting on my shoulder, his thumb digging into the hollow of my collarbone. He loves the idea of me. Just like you love the idea of being safe. But safety is an illusion, Ren. Chaos is the only truth. He leaned in then, close enough that I could smell him. Sandalwood, antiseptic, and rain. The proximity was dizzying. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I knew, in that terrifying moment, that if he asked me to burn the apartment down, I would strike the match. You're shaking, he noted, his voice dropping to a whisper. I'm cold, I lied. Liar. He didn't kiss me then. He did something worse. He pulled me into his arms, tucking my head under his chin, and held me while I fell apart. It was a calculated embrace, a display of dominance masked as comfort. He was establishing himself as my sanctuary, systematically isolating me from the gratitude I felt toward Julian. As weeks turned into months, the atmosphere in the penthouse shifted. Julian remained oblivious, laughing at dinner, clapping Adrian on the back, treating us like a happy, dysfunctional family. But beneath the surface, a war was being waged. Adrian became possessive. If I went out with friends, my phone would buzz with text from him, innocuous on the surface, but controlling in their frequency. Asterisk, did you remember your keys? It's raining, I'll pick you up. Don't drink too much, you know how you get. Asterisk, I told myself it was brotherly concern. I told myself he was just being kind. But I knew better. I saw the way he looked at anyone who touched me. A cold, clinical dissection that promised retribution. The breaking point came in November. Julian announced he was going on a business trip to Tokyo for 2 weeks. Just me and Adrian. Alone. The air in the apartment changed the moment the door clicked shut behind Julian. It became charged, electric with unsaid words and suppressed desires. 3 days into Julian's absence, I found myself in the library, sketching. Adrian walked in, wearing a silk robe that hung loosely around his frame. He poured himself a drink and stood by the window, watching the city lights. Stop looking at me like that, he said, not turning around. My pencil froze. Like what? He turned slowly. Like you're waiting for permission. I swallowed hard, setting the sketchbook down. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? He crossed the room in 3 long strides, looming over my chair. He placed his hands on the armrests, trapping me. You watch me when you think I'm not looking. You flinch when Julian mentions his girlfriends. You're starving, Ren. And I'm the only one offering you sustenance. You're Julian's brother, I whispered, the feeble protest dying in the air between us. And Adrian tilted his head. Does that make me untouchable? Or does it make you want me more? I can't. You can. You just need to say it. His face was inches from mine. I could see the flecks of silver in his eyes, the slight parting of his lips. The tension was unbearable, a physical weight crushing my lungs. I had spent months denying it, burying it under layers of guilt and propriety. But he was right. I was starving. My voice failed me. Say it, he commanded, his voice a low growl. I think I'm falling for you. I blurted out, the words rushing out like a confession of a crime. I know it's wrong. I know you're Julian's brother. But you're everything. You're too kind to me. You see me when no one else does. I can't help it. Silence. I squeezed my eyes shut, expecting rejection, expecting him to laugh or to tell me to pack my bags. Instead, I felt his hand cup my jaw, tilting my head back. Finally, he breathed. He kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't the kiss of a kind man. It was a claim. His lips crushed mine, his tongue invading my mouth with a hunger that bordered on violence. He tasted of scotch and obsession. I grabbed the lapels of his robe, pulling him closer, surrendering to the flood. For 10 days, we existed in a bubble of illicit ecstasy. We made love in every room of the penthouse, desperate and frantic, as if trying to consume each other before reality crashed back in. Adrian was insatiable, demanding, yet attentive in a way that made my knees weak. He worshipped my body, tracing every scar, every mole, whispering promises that sounded like threats. Asterisk, you're mine, Ren. You were always mine. Julian just found you first. Asterisk, but the bubble had to burst. Julian returned a day early. We were in the living room. I was lying on the sofa, my head in Adrian's lap, while he read a book, his hand absent-mindedly carding through my hair. The domesticity of it was damning. The elevator chimed. The door opened. Surprise. I caught an earlier flig. Julian froze. His duffel bag hit the floor with a heavy thud. I scrambled up, heart stopping. Julian. Adrian didn't move. He didn't flinch. He slowly closed his book and set it on the table, his expression bored. Welcome back, brother, Adrian said coolly. What is this? Julian's face went from shock to a twisted mask of fury. He looked from me to Adrian, connecting the dots, my flushed face, the bruised bite mark on my neck that I hadn't covered. Ren? You and him. It's not what it looks like. I began, the classic lie tasting like ash. It is exactly what it looks like, Adrian corrected, standing up. He moved in front of me, a shield. Run and I are together. He's my roommate. He's my friend. Julian roared, stepping forward, his hands balled into fists. I trusted you, Run. And you. He pointed a shaking finger at Adrian. You sick bastard. You manipulate everything you touch. You couldn't just let me have one thing, could you? You had to break him too. I didn't break him, Adrian said calmly, his voice dropping an octave. I liberated him. Get out, Julian hissed at me. Pack your shit and get out. Both of you. No, Adrian said. It wasn't a request. Excuse me. This apartment. Adrian gestured vaguely. The building. It's in the family trust, isn't it? But father put me as the primary executor last month. Technically, Julian. I'm your landlord. I stared at Adrian, horror dawning on me. Adrian, what are you saying? Julian went pale. You planned this. You knew. I know everything. Adrian smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I knew you were skimming from the company accounts, Julian. I knew you needed this place to maintain appearances. I let you play house. But now. He turned and looked at me, his gaze terrifyingly intense. Now I have what I want. And I don't like sharing my toys. Stop it, I shouted, shoving Adrian back. I'm not a toy. And you blackmailed your own brother. I did what was necessary, Adrian snapped, his mask slipping for the first time. He grabbed my wrist, his grip bruising. To keep you. To ensure that when this moment came, you would have nowhere else to go. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. The kindness. The help with my debts. The isolation. It wasn't love. It was a trap. He had systematically removed my safety nets until he was the only thing left to hold on to. Julian looked at me, disgust warring with pity. Run, look at him. He's a psychopath. Leave. Come with me. We'll figure it out. I looked at Julian, the safe harbor. Then I looked at Adrian. Adrian, who looked at me not with apology, but with a raw, bleeding need. His arrogance was gone, replaced by a frantic desperation. If you leave with him, Adrian whispered, his voice trembling, I will burn this city down. I will ruin him. I will ruin myself. Don't leave me, Ren. I don't know how to be human without you. It was a manipulation. I knew it was. A high-stakes emotional gamble. But as I looked into his eyes, I saw the truth beneath the madness. He was a monster, yes. But he was a monster who had built a shrine for me in the center of his labyrinth. He had loved me in the only twisted, broken way he knew how. Ren, Julian pleaded. Let's go. I pulled my wrist from Adrian's grip. The silence stretched, agonizing and thick. Then I stepped back, away from Julian. I can't, I whispered. Julian's face crumbled. He's going to destroy you. Maybe, I said, tears blurring my vision. But I think I'm already destroyed. Julian left. The door slammed shut, severing the last tie I had to a normal life. I was alone with Adrian. The silence of the apartment was deafening. Adrian stood there, chest heaving, looking at me as if he expected me to attack him. When I didn't, he collapsed to his knees, wrapping his arms around my waist, burying his face in my stomach. He was shaking. The powerful, Arrogant surgeon was sobbing silently against me. I thought you would leave, he choked out. I calculated the odds. 80% chance you would leave. I ran my fingers through his hair, the sensation of dread and love mixing into a potent, intoxicating cocktail. You're crazy, Adrian. You're cruel. I know, he mumbled against my shirt. I'll be better. I'll learn. Just don't let go. I looked out the window at the rain-slicked city. I had confessed to the kind, handsome boy I thought I knew. I had ended up with the dark, broken man who knelt before me. I realized then that the kindness had been the mask. This obsession, this desperate, clawing need, was the reality. And God help me, I didn't want to run. I tilted his head up. His eyes were red-rimmed, searching mine for rejection. You have to fix this, I told him sternly, asserting a power I didn't know I had. You have to fix things with Julian. You have to stop controlling me. Anything, he swore. Anything you want. Just stay. I leaned down and kissed his forehead, sealing my fate. I'm not going anywhere, I whispered. I live here now. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf, by letting the wolf think he had been caught, when really, he had just found a den dark enough to call home. If you enjoyed seeing Rin embrace the darkness and Adrian's desperate obsession, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a lover who manipulated your life just to ensure you had no choice but to choose them? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then.